problem. It says Leslie has 1 liter of milk in her refrigerator to drink today. She drank ½ liter of milk for breakfast and 2/5 liter of milk for dinner. How much of a liter did Leslie drink during breakfast and dinner? And then the extension says, how much does she have left to drink with her dessert? Give your answer as a fraction and a decimal. Now the first thing I want you to do when you see a word problem is decide. Am I going to add, subtract, multiply, divide? What am I going to do on this? Add, okay? The next thing I want you to do is go ahead and write your problem, and you can put that on your whiteboard now. Okay? So 1/2 plus 2/5. Okay? It's pretty important, and Channing, I'm going to use you as an example. Okay? Yesterday she forgot to write her problem, and then after she forgot to write it, I don't think she ever solved it. Did you, Channing?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
I fixed it up.
Okay. All right. So I really want you to make sure, you know, the drawing's important, but the rest of this problem going straight across is probably more important, isn't it? Okay. So what am I going to draw here? I'm going to draw 2 fractional models, right? We call them rectangular models. And I'm back to being able to do it like this, aren't I? So you draw your 2 boxes on your whiteboard. Now this whiteboard, please make sure it's not becoming a toy for you, okay? Yeah, maybe don't push quite so hard, Fernando. Now yesterday, here's what I noticed. I noticed mistakes with the, like Dwayne says, cutting them into equal pieces, okay? So here's what I want you to remember. Eyes up here. Go ahead and stop writing for just a second, okay? Of course, halves are so easy, but fifths are not. It's the odd numbers that give us trouble, like 5, 7, and you're going to have 9, okay? And I want to remind you the easiest way to do these is start with the space in the middle. If I start and I know I need 4 lines, I might get confused and accidentally draw 5. But if I use the strategy of starting in the middle with a space, so that's going to be 5, right? 5 minus 1 is 4, so I need 2 spaces on each side. Now do I have 5? And they're pretty equal, okay? Don't get confused on your drawing. Kimberly, do you have 5?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now shade. And be careful of the shading. Make sure you shade at the bottom. Work your way up on this right side. Now, remind me how to get the common denominator, the new denominator that's the same. Multiply what? 2 times 5. So what do I get? 10. Then I combine lines or move the lines over. And Dwayne does a little bit of circling, doesn't he? Kind of help us. You don't have to, but if that helps you, go ahead. Hayden, this is where you really need to focus on the numbers I write because that's what you forgot yesterday. Okay, so then on this one, I'll divide it in half and count these pieces. All right, so what do I have here? 4/10. Go back to your problem. Rewrite the new problem. 5/10 plus 4/10 equals 9/10. And that's my answer. Now that's answering part of the problem. The extension says, how much of a liter of milk does Leslie have left to drink with her dessert? 1 what? 1/10. How do I write that as a decimal?
0.001.
No, that's
0.1.
I knew you knew what you were saying. Okay. So, and I would, if I answer with the sentence, I would write the fraction and the decimal in the sentence, okay? All right, let's take a look at the next thing we need to do. Okay, this is, why are we estimating? Maybe because we're trying to figure out if it's going to be more or less than 1 whole. Okay, so don't put both of these on here. Just do A for now, okay? Right? No, just do B for now. Yeah, we'll skip A and we'll start with B. So go ahead and get your problem written down for B. And get your fractional models labeled. Now, I am going to go ahead and draw A, but you don't need to, okay? Because I want to show you the difference between what we did yesterday and what we're going to do today. Okay, on B, I'm going to divide the first one in half, correct? Okay, and don't go past this. So stay with me for just a few minutes here. I think I let them go ahead in block 1, and then what happened was they weren't paying attention to the new stuff. Okay? So the new stuff is very important. Okay, so once you get yours shaded, put your marker down and let's talk about this. We're going to compare the two. So this is 1/3 and 1/4, correct? You don't have to write this down. Okay, put your marker down. So what differences do you see between problem A and B?
They're kind of the same.
No, I said differences. Stop writing and think. Channing, what's one difference you see?
Well, on one of them, you're doing 1/4, and the next one you're doing 3/4.
Okay, so a lot more is shaded, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I were going to make an estimate here, do you think my answer would be more or less than 1 whole? So, less than 1 whole. It's less than 1 whole. Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
This is my answer, and it's going to be more than 1 whole. That's what we predict, okay? Now, when it's more than 1 whole, there are some things we have to change, and the kids in block 1 really struggled with this, so that's why I'm going so slow, okay? So let's go ahead and solve this and get to the point where we have an answer. So, what will your new common denominator be? 8. I always forget my 1 whole, don't I? Okay, so on the first fractional model, Tucker, how many are shaded out of 8?
4.
4 out of 8. Put your markers down once you get finished writing. And on the second fractional model, Halen, how many are shaded out of 8?
6, 8.
6 out of 8. Okay, now Hayden, did you write your numbers? I don't see your numbers.
Hold on.
The numbers are the most important part here. Okay? So this is what we have so far. I'm going to rewrite my problem, but I don't have a lot of room beside, so I'm going to do it below. Okay? So I've got 4/8 plus 6/8 equals 10/8. Now this is what I want to show you. We said our estimate would be more than 1 whole, right? And we were correct. Dwayne did something really cool on the video that I want to show you to give you a visual. So 10/8 you cannot circle because we have to change that. We're going to change it from an improper fraction to a whole number and a fraction. Put your markers down and let's watch what Dwayne did, okay? This is pretty cool. So he said, really, it's like taking 4 from the right side and filling up the other model. So I'm going to take 4, and no, I don't think you need to do this. I'm just giving you a visual, okay? So I'm going to take 4, put my lines back on that I accidentally erased. Okay, so that leaves me with 2 over here, doesn't it? And I'm going to go ahead and add those 4 over here. So that gives me how many 8s? 8 8s plus how many are left over? 2 8s, and is 10 2 more than 8? Yeah. So my answer, boys and girls, is 1 and what?
1 and 2 8.
Okay. And most kids would circle that, but guess what? You're not done.
What?
I know. I said this is getting hard, and it's getting hard quickly. Let's look back at that simplify strategy on the board. Is 2 half of 8?
No.
No. Can I divide by my numerator?
Yeah.
Yes. So I have to do divided by 2, divided by 2. So my new answer, with it simplified, I'm going to write it with white, okay, is 1 and, what's 2 divided by 2? 1. What's 8 divided by 2? Now I can circle. That's a lot of things to remember when somebody isn't even writing the numbers below yet. Okay, it's too late to write these. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, so the next problem, just write this problem 2. It says 4/5 plus 1/2. Really wish I left myself more room. Need to make a note of that, don't I? So write 4/5 plus 1/2. Erase everything on your board, please. I shouldn't have to say that. Okay, did you write the problem?
Yes.
Okay, that's the first step. Then start making your models. After we make the models, we'll estimate. So 5 is another odd number, isn't it? Eyes up here. The easiest way to do an odd number is to put a space in the middle and then add on the sides. And I've got to shade how many of those?
4.
4 of those. And the other one is 1/2. Now check your 1/2. Did you write it horizontally? Hey, Tucker, Tucker, Tucker. Check your 1/2. Honey, you did those backwards. It's too late now, but the left side is vertical, the right side is horizontal. Okay? He just did them backwards. It's okay. He's going to get the right answer. Okay, and this is 1/2. Now let's make an estimate. Do you think it's greater or less than 1 whole? Okay, look at your shaded parts. You think that's going to be more than 1 whole? Probably so. Okay?
Miss Lewis.
Now, Hayden, do you have this written down here because it's very important? What, Jenny?
I did it backwards.
Okay, no more backwards. Okay.
Oh, the 2 numbers, yeah.
Okay, good. And the equal signs?
The
What
4,
you
the 4 numbers, yes, and the 2 equal signs. and
Awesome.
lines, yes.
and the 2 fractions. I'm just teasing. Okay, so what's 5 times 2, Hayden?
5 times 2 is 10.
Okay, so that's the new common denominator. That's the strategy we're using, okay? Now the next thing I do is I move this horizontal line over and I move my vertical lines over. And I'm going to write down the numerators after I do that. So did you move your lines, Hayden?
Yep.
Okay, so count these for me. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Alright.
How many?
4,
4 plus 4, okay. And how many are here?
5.
Okay, make sure you fill in your numerators, okay? Now these two fractions right here have to be transferred up to the problem.
Because that one is half.
So 8/10 plus 5/10
Equals 13 tenths.
equals 13/10, and that's an improper fraction. So put your markers down. Okay. Maybe get a smaller eraser, Mrs. Lewis. So how many do I need to take from the right and put in the left?
2.
2. When I do that, I have how many eighths in this one? I mean, how many tenths in this one?
10 tenths.
So 10/10 plus, how many are left over? 3/10. And does that make sense because I had the number 13?
Yes.
10 plus 3 is 13, okay? And that equals 1 and 3/10. Now don't circle it yet. Let's check for simplifying. Is 3 half of 10?
No.
Can I divide 10 by 3?
Yes. No.
Does 10 have any factors that 3 has?
Yes.
No. So we're done. Okay, let's do the next one. I know I'm going slow, but I think it's going to help. Okay, I'm going to erase all this so it doesn't get in your way when you are thinking about the next one, okay? All right, you doing better, Hayden? Okay, good. So then I really feel like you'll have enough information to finish that page from yesterday after we do these, and maybe you could come back at 1:30 and do that for me? Okay. All right, so 2/3 plus 3/5. Let's get that on there. Tucker and Channing, vertical first. Okay? Horizontal second. We're getting a lot of practice with the 5, aren't we? Yeah. Halen, are you starting at the bottom?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now once I get them shaded, I want to make an estimate. Okay, take a look at my shaded pieces. Okay, don't start the problem just yet. Let's do an estimate. That way we'll know if we need to do that whole one whole part, okay? So looking at these shaded parts, if I would turn this, hey, maybe I could. Should I try? Okay, we'll see if it works. There's a good chance it won't. Let me try it again. Nope, not gonna work. Well, good idea anyway, Mrs. Lewis.
You can't. It says up there.
No, it's selecting too much. Okay, well anyway, if I took these and I put them over here next to the other one, what do you think? More or less than one whole?
More.
More. So my answer is going to be more than one whole. So I can't just circle an improper fraction when I'm finished. How many of you are already finished? 3 times 5, what is it?
15.
Okay, that's my common denominator. Or we also call them like units, don't forget. It might say like units on your paper or on Zern. Okay, so then I combine lines. I like what Sadie said yesterday. You just move those lines over. And so I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 3, 6, 9. Do you skip count like that when you're counting your pieces?
Yeah.
Okay. Your drawing has to be right though. So now I have these two fractions right here that will be my new problem. And I'm going to start it way over here so I can have enough room. So I'm going to have, 10/15 plus 9/15 equals what? 19/15. Okay, and that's an improper fraction, isn't it? So more or less than 1 whole? More. So how many do I need to move over? 5? I've got to move 5 over. Is that 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I move 5 over, put my lines back on there. Okay. How many do I have in the first shape? 1 whole, but what's the fraction called? 15/15, right? Plus, how many are left? 4/15, correct? So then what do I have? 1 and 4/15. And we have to check for simplifying, okay? It won't work. Jenny says it won't work. 4 is not half of 15. You cannot divide 15 by 4, and you can't divide 15 by 2, because 2 is the only other factor we're missing, right? So it's simplified. Now, I want you to look at the number 19/15 for me. Erase everything but 19/15. I think I'll erase everything but 19/15. I'll put it over here. Okay, so you got that on there? Okay, so here's another way you can think of it, okay? You can think of 19/15 and a number bond. Okay? I'm going to take out 1 whole. So how do I break 19 apart when 15 is my whole? 15 plus 4, correct? That's another way you can think of it. So that's 1 whole plus 4/15. Make sense? Okay, I'm going to stop recording there. You've done very well.